What's up, my fitness core? Welcome. Today we are trying to figure out what the heck is heart rate training. Have you ever heard of heart rate training? The feeling I'm getting is about 50% of people have heard of this and maybe have even tried it. And the other 50% are like, nope, never heard of it. I don't know what this is. Please explain it to me. So that is why I'm here today. Help you all out and figure out if this is something that you should be implementing, because it's something that is not difficult to do, especially if you have your watch or GPS watch, smartwatch. If you have a heart rate monitor, this is going to help you reach your goals, and it's going to help you use your watch the way it was intended, for what you paid for, right? We pay a lot of money for these devices, and we want to make sure that we are using them in a way to benefit us, not just ignoring features when they have so much benefit. So let's take a look here. Heart rate training allows you to monitor the intensity of your training runs. So this is something that I want you to start thinking about when you do have a running schedule in front of you and it tells you how many miles you should be running. You should also be thinking about what intensity level are you going to be running at. Now, plateaued runners are the ones that are feeling frustrated, they're not getting results, and more than likely they're out there running at a moderate to moderately high intensity level each and every time they head out the door. And the reason this happens is when we first get started out, if you want to be running, you're going to be running at that higher ventilatory threshold. And it's because your cardiovascular system is not equipped to run at higher speeds without crossing the threshold. And this makes every run feel difficult. And when we're first starting out, we start repeating this over and over again, and our body starts adapting and we start running faster. This is when we do start seeing results, because we're new to running and our body is making those adaptations. However, once you get 3-4 months in, even a year in, you can often run yourself into what is called a plateau, where you're no longer seeing results. And you run, but you are not making any progress. You're pushing yourself to the max and you feel like you've tried everything and it always feels hard. Then the limiting beliefs start creeping in. I'll always be slow. I'm not an athlete. You dread getting out the door, and your procrastination, the buildup before a run, is starting to take way too long. And then you start to feel like running is not for me. I'm not cut out for this, because your pace isn't improving. It still feels so difficult each and every time. And I don't want this to happen to you. Runners often believe this idea that every run should be tough and painful. And this is a very real problem, because a lot of people have this belief. Then the results end up being burnout, injury, more than likely quitting. And if this is you, I totally get it. This is what I did when I was training for my first half marathon. It was exhausting. Every time I went out the door, no matter what the training schedule said, I would just run it as hard and push myself each and every time. And that gets old really quick. Feeling like you had a really great speed workout is one thing, but when every single workout leaves you exhausted and so drenched in sweat, and just where you feel like you are just burnt out to the max, is not a good thing, especially when you're running 4 and 5 days a week. When you say that you have to push yourself each and every run, what you're really saying is that running is miserable. I don't want you saying that. Running is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a great stress reliever. This is something that you can be doing, and it's really going to boost your quality of life. not make you feel miserable, not leave you with a million aches and pains, and not leave you dreading to do it again. So these are the common misconceptions, is that thinking that every run must be uncomfortable or painful, and the only way to get better is to suffer. No. So my tip for you is don't quit. Don't do it. Don't quit. Instead, do heart rate training. This is what's going to start shifting things for you and start changing your end result. Because when we keep doing the same things over and over again, we get the same results. So we need to try something new, and heart rate training could be the solution that you've been looking for. This is for you if you want to run faster and further. And how often do you hear that you can improve your running ability by running slower? Not often, but this is a possibility, and I'm going to show you how. First, you'll need to calculate your heart rate zones. And I do this, I like the 5 zones. There's different zones out there that you can look up and see, but I like utilizing the 5 zones, and I like to do the talk test to determine what my zones are or my clients' zones are, because everybody should have their own unique zones. We're not all the same here. Depending on your fitness level is what determines your heart rate zones. And you need to be running, to get the best results, you want to be running 80% of your runs in the easy zones, which are zones 1 and 2, and then you want to run 20% in the harder zones, which are 4 and 5. All right, so 1 and 2, so zone 1 is like a warm-up, zone 2 is a nice easy pace, and then zone 4 is where you're pushing moderately hard, and zone 5 is where you're really pushing your limit. And the benefits that you will see are that you will maximize your fitness, you are going to maximize your running skill, and it's going to shift your focus. And this is a really wonderful side effect of heart rate training. It makes it so we're not so focused on our pace. So like right now, when you know that you're supposed to go out for an easy run, maybe you're like, I know I can hold a conversation at a 10-minute mile pace, whatever that pace is for you. And so you set out to run your training run at an easy 10-minute mile pace. And as you're going, you're like, well, I'm feeling so good. I think I can go faster. And then you start pushing yourselves. And before you know it, you're getting a new PR, and you just threw away the easy training run and converted it to a hard run, because we get competitive with ourselves. We know maybe you're on Strava and you share your pace each and every run. And you were like, well, I want to kind of show that I am a little bit faster. These are things that get in our head. And when we focus on heart rate training, we're no longer focused on that. Most people are like, okay, I got to slow it down so I stay in my zone. I got to slow it down. So, that is more the thinking. Whereas when we're tracking our pace, we're like, oh, I think I should push a little bit harder. It's a different way of thinking. Plus, you are going to see skyrocketing energy, because you're not going to be so drained from yesterday's run. Because we are running 80% of our runs at a easy pace, and we're tracking it, and we're enforcing it, and we're making sure we're staying there, we are going to feel so much more energy, and you are going to love that. So we talked about zones 1 and 2 and zones 4 and 5, but what about zone 3? What is it good for? What it's good for is burning fat. This is the zone you want to be in if you are concerned with weight loss, getting rid of some fat. This is where running is a really good tool for your weight loss. But you gotta decide, what do you want to focus on? Do you want to focus on running faster and further? Because if you do, you need to stay in the 80% easy, 20% hard. But if you are prioritizing losing weight and fat loss, you want to stay at that moderate to high intensity level in zone 3. But I would definitely recommend you're not pushing for marathon distance, so you're not doing a marathon training schedule and also trying to stay in that fat burning zone. That is not a good training schedule. We want you to be more in line with the 80% easy, 20% hard rule. All right, does that make sense? So the fat burning zone, save that for like 30-minute workouts of 30 to 40 minutes. Get your heart into the fat burning zone. That's great. But for those of you that are looking to run faster and further, try to stick to 80-20. 80% easy, 20% hard. And at first, when you are opting for the 80-20 method, it's going to feel really embarrassing. And I would recommend just running on your own. Don't run with a buddy, because everyone's going to have different zones and they may not be training in their zone. So I would just do this on your own, because it's going to feel awkward. You're going to have to be running quite a bit slower. And a lot of people have it set in their mind that I've worked too hard to run that slow. Well, what results do you want? Do you want new results? Do you want to start running further and faster? This is how you're going to do it. Even though it feels uncomfortable, it's going to feel uncomfortable at your easy pace. And it's also going to feel uncomfortable on speed work day, because you're going to be making sure you're pushing, getting your heart rate up in those higher zones. And I'm going to bet those of you that don't already train in your zones, all of your runs are falling in zones 3 and 4. And this is so common for recreational runners. It's just what we do, because we don't know any better. We don't know how to set it up in order to train in this way. And it makes it hard to get improvements, and it makes it really easy to plateau. And I don't want that to happen to you. And this is why I consider heart rate training a fundamental of running. Because what happens when you start really going for it, sticking to 80-20, 80% easy, 20% hard, what's going to happen? You will begin to improve, and it's going to show up for you on race day. Yes, that is what we want. Top athlete runners, skiers, and cyclists use this method. And it used to be only reserved for the elite because it was too costly. The equipment costs too much. It's too big. It's too bulky. Not anymore. Now it's right attached to our wrist. Let me know, do you have a heart rate monitor? Fitbit, Garmin, Apple, they all do it. Not every version of the Fitbits do it, I don't think, but so many of them do. So let me know, do you have a device to track your heart rate? Are you utilizing that device? So much money spent on these gadgets, and I want to make sure that you're using them and they're helping you make progress towards your goals.